Hi, my name is Rachel James, and I am a French and composition teacher at Seven Oaks Classical School, as well as the curriculum specialist and instructional coach. The Seven Oaks curriculum really emphasizes the study of language in many different forms. At Seven Oaks, students study their own language very heavily from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, beginning at the very beginning with letter formation and writing simple words all the way to 12th grade when they compose their own thesis exploring an idea of their choice. Um, Language is an amazing thing in that it's what makes us truly human. It's the way that for generations people have communicated ideas and stories, and we believe at Seven Oaks that the better you understand the language in which these things are communicated, the more you're going to understand the stories and the ideas themselves. Something I tell my students very frequently in composition is that composing well is all about articulating your idea with the exact words that you mean to say. So whether you're reading or writing, understanding the words themselves and exactly their meaning will give the depth that you need to your understanding of the reading or to your own writing. In literature, our curriculum looks a little bit different than other schools in that we have very specific books that we want students to read. Stories that you read as a young person have an impact on you in a way that other stories do not. They stick with you over time. They form not just your memories, but really who you are as a person. And we chose works that have stood the test of time and that will allow students to meditate on the characters and their virtue as people, animals, whatever they are. And we also have a focus all through, whether again that you're a young student composing sentences that your teacher is dictating to you, or composing an essay and analyzing a poem, your composition really helps you take the language that you read and make it your own. Other than English, the English language, our students also study Latin and French. Students begin their study of Greek and Latin roots as early as the 3rd grade, and then a more formal introduction to Latin in 4th grade, as well as French. Now, when we hit 6th grade, the intensity ratchets up a little bit, and by the time students finish 8th grade, if they've kind of come up through the language, they should have finished the high school equivalent of French 1 and Latin 1 and Latin 2. So really, we're giving students a great opportunity to have mastery over languages at a time when languages acquisition is easier. And I think many of us wish we could have had it that early, because it would have been much simpler. If students in high school, students will be required to take Latin through Latin 3. So that would be if they've been with us the whole time through the end of 9th grade. At that point, students can decide if they want to continue in Latin or opt for another elective. Students are also able to continue with French through high school as well. Now, if students we often see students who come into language class who are a little nervous. They've never taken a foreign language, and that's really fine. We have a lot of teachers with a lot of experience working with people who are new to learning languages. All of us have been that person before as when we were students, and we remember it well. So students are able to jump into the language when they arrive. For 4th and 5th grade, it's very much an introductory level of language that we give to students who are able to take that on at that age. Really, you could come in 6th grade and be starting at the same point in terms of your written level as your colleagues. If you come in 7th grade, again, we're going to try to place you in a language where you can still, place you in a class where you can still learn language and have access to it. In 8th grade, students will be in a high school Latin class. So that means they will be either in Latin 1 or Latin 2 for their 8th grade year. In French, for students who are new, we don't have them slated to take French for 8th grade. However, they are welcome to take it as a high school or as an elective course. In both the language departments, we have several French teachers, several Latin teachers, and really that gives us so much joy as teachers, because we have people to bounce ideas off of, and we're able to help one another and really start to build our curriculum together. So a little bit more about the study of Latin. Why study Latin? Isn't that a dead language? Well, it is and it isn't. It is in the sense that it's not spoken here anymore, but our language is based in Latin. So Latin definitely helps us gain a great understanding of our own language, in that it is the root of our language that we speak every day. Understanding Latin more will give you a better understanding of the English language, a deeper, more complete understanding. Understanding Latin also challenges the mind. Latin is a rigorous subject that requires a mental discipline that is really challenging, but also really rewarding, and makes helps you grow in your understanding of the grammar of English, but then also just the logic of logical thinking. And also Latin also helps you access the culture of the ancient world. There's a way that we can read about the ancient world in our own language, but you never understand a culture as well as when you read it in the language of the people who lived it. Understanding history of the Romans through the mouths and the words of Romans is going to be much more powerful than reading a modern interpretation of it. And then the question comes, well then, why French? Why do we do French of all the modern languages? We really see French as a bridge between Latin and English and the development of the English language. There's a lot of English language connection to French, in the same way that there's a lot of connection between Latin and French. And it is sort of this nice logical bridge between the two, both with the development of the language, but then also historically and culturally. There are so many parallels between the heritage of our country and the heritage of the Francophone world, that a lot of the philosophical and cultural understanding of the French language reveals a lot about America. And also, again, just like with Latin, the understanding of the French language gives us access to the world of the Francophone world, which exists, of course, in Europe, but also in Africa and all over, in Canada, all over the world today. So in the same way that Latin gives us access to the past, so does French. It gives us access to the French culture that's existed for generations, but it also gives us access to the modern world. And we teach French also immersively. So students have French class all in French. French challenges the mind in that way, a completely different way than Latin does, because you're having to process it in a different way. And again, this is something that students sometimes find really challenging. It's very weird to walk into a classroom and have the teacher talk and have you not understand a word of it. But over the past several years of teaching French, I've really seen students over time embrace that and realize that they can do it, especially as a young person. Their mind is able to pick up on what's happening, because we communicate more than just with our words. We communicate in so many different ways, and pretty soon those words that sounded like gobbledygook earlier sound like real things that have real meaning. So thanks so much for coming to Tour Seven Oaks. We hope to see you soon. Bye.